Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman Holiday Month. I'm Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
Steve Baxi.
That motherfucking Steve Baxi!
You know it! Leroy Jenkins!
Right. So we're here today to do the final... I guess not final. I don't know, we'll have to figure it out. Penultimate, secondary penultimate, since we're doing a Christmas commentary. As well, episode of Holiday Month. I picked the movie we're reviewing today, and that is Violent Night, which came out just last year, or I guess depending on when you listen to this, a couple years ago, 2022. And this is the Die Hard, but it's Santa Claus. As we all know, there are really only a few like core stories, and everything's just a retelling of those. There's Man vs. God, Man vs. Nature, Man vs. Man, Die Hard, and Freaky Friday. And all stories go back to these roots.
Die Hard and Freaky Friday.
Name a movie that is not one of those things.
I mean, this is the fair point. It's crazy, man. Die Hard and reinvented the fucking wheel. I mean, like, there's fucking the Iliad and the Odyssey, and then nothing happens, and then Die Hard.
Yep, pretty much.
We should talk about Die Hard one of these days. That's a good fucking movie.
I mean, it's a Christmas movie. You could throw that on the list next year. Or, I don't know, maybe. We'll talk about it. Yeah, so Violent Night is, I mean, it really does what it says on the tin. It is Die Hard, but Santa Claus. And, you know, it's kind of funny that we've come full circle on this, because we started out Horror Month this year talking about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and we were talking about what a fucking letdown that was, because it's just, not that it's like, oh, how dare they do this to Pooh, but it's just such like a stupid fucking movie that doesn't put the effort into what it could be. Then we talked about Jack Frost 1, we're doing the Christmas commentary, Jack Frost 2, tune in Christmas Day, because I assume you have nothing better to do. What are you going to do, spend time with your family? Don't fucking lie to me. But we're going to talk about Jack Frost 2 on the Christmas commentary, but, like, even Jack Frost 1 had, like, some more clever ideas and, like, uses of its conceit, but it still wasn't, like, anywhere near what it necessarily should have been. Whereas then we get to here, where it is just the absurdity of the conceit, and it is so fucking good because it really does go the full gambit to fully take advantage of the conceit on which it is based. Like, I've been quoted on this. I don't know if I really want to talk about Die Hard, because I fucking just hate, yeah, it's a guy with a gun, and he's fighting other guys with guns. Like, I just hate that, like, premise of a movie. Just all action movies and, like, that James Bond, like, mold just bore the shit out of me, where it's a man with a gun. Fucking terribly boring. Whereas this, like, really goes, okay, it's Santa versus a bunch of people with guns. So, like, you can see the lazy version of this would be just Santa picks up a gun and starts shooting the people. But no, they really fucking pull out all the stops and get so goddamn creative with this, and I fucking love it. Santa doesn't shoot anyone in this movie. A couple people get shot by, like, the secondary characters. The parents shoot a couple people to, like, help out in the end. But, like, none of the deaths that Santa inflicts upon these die-hard goons is with a gun. It's all just creative as shit like blood and gore, and I fucking love it for that.
It is worth discussing though potentially. What's worse, being shot and dying pretty quick, or being stabbed with a fucking skater blade?
Mm-hmm. He was a skater boy. No, I mean for real, like that would suck ass. And like just the again, for me what really, really makes this movie work is just the creativeness of it. The like, bag of toys, and he reaches in and just pulls out stuff, but he doesn't like have a lot of control of what he pulls out. So it's both like super effective but also like a fucking glass cannon. It's pretty good. And just the way it develops, and it's just such a good like tongue-in-cheek kind of movie where they never go so far as to like make jokes at the expense of the premise itself, but they don't like shy away from acknowledging the absurdity of it, and still playing that for comedy. The joke in this that just absolutely fucking killed me this time watching through was when the kill team shows up, and it turns out that they've like betrayed the family or whatever, and John Leguizamo's character, Jimmy or Mr. Scrooge, is like, yes, we got a gopher. It's causing some real fucking problems for us. And then like the little sidekick bitch goes, might actually be the real Santa Claus. What the fuck did she just say? She's kidding. I just fucking set me, man. Might actually be the real Santa. Like, what's so good about that moment, right, is the like kill team leader doesn't break eye contact with John Leguizamo. When he says that, he's like, the fuck did she just say?
The kill team leader is really underrated in this. I love his introduction where like he's rallying his troops, and he's like, I like this, like I like sex. I want it fast, dirty, with minimal cleanup. It's
pretty fucking good though. Yeah.
I'm glad you liked this. I guess I didn't like it as much as you did, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. I did see this in theaters when it came out last year, on the basis of the trailer just being filled to the brim with murder and Christmas puns.
Mm-hmm.
And that just seemed like the greatest idea anyone's ever had. I will say, and this is not a criticism that I think is fair of me, and if any normal person watched this movie, they would not agree with me, but my standard is like, plan to eradicate the Saiyans TFS abridged levels of this. I wish there were more Christmas puns.
Okay.
I needed more of those.
Maybe, like, shove a lump of coal up their anuses really wasn't enough for you, huh?
Nah, Santa Claus was coming to town is fine, but like, I don't know, I need more of those. I need like every other line of dialogue to be a Christmas pun. I'm talking Batman and Robin levels.
See, and I get the temptation for that, but this I think does like a really good job of like walking the line where it's, you still get them, I think, at the points where they're the most important. Not if you still believe. Just fucking Mortal Kombat fucking fatality move.
That was so fucking funny.
Yeah, like, so you get like, I feel like you get the best of both worlds, where if you're right, if they had done that, it would have still been funny and enjoyable, but I think it would have gotten not necessarily old, but I don't think it would have made them hit as well as they did.
No, that's fair. I mean, I'm not saying that that's a legitimate problem with the movie, but there is definitely a level of me going into it from the trailer thinking, oh, this is just going to be like Christmas puns every other line, and it really wasn't that.
See, I didn't get that impression from the trailer. I kind of got the impression that the trailer showed you all the Christmas puns you were going to get,
which I didn't think was going to be the case. I thought that was just like the tip of the iceberg, and no, it's all of them.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. That's honestly not a problem for me. Do you agree with me, though, that this, like, of the things that we have watched this year, this is, like, the thing that actually straddles the line of where you're supposed to go with this kind of premise?
Of all of the comedic violent movies, yeah, I think it does it the best. I have some issues with it tonally, and I've got some issues with just the conceit overall, because I feel like writing the family characters kind of opens up a bag of worms that I don't think works as well as it could. But aside from that, I think it does like capture that premise really well. Die Hard as a Christmas movie seems like a really simple thing, but it would be very easy to screw up, and this for the most part does it as best as you can. And then it throws in some fun bits here and there, like with the little girl just basically doing Home Alone except hyper violent.
Like literally
that's
they
pretty fucking funny.
they kind of captured a zeitgeist on that because, like, I don't know, say what, early 2010s, people really started going into just how violent and, like, psychopathic Kevin McAllister is. And that's just kind of been a building wave. I know the Corridor channel did, like, a Home Alone but rated R thing and just, like, added blood to all the Harry and Marv scenes, basically. And this is basically just like, no, let's do that, but, like, actually happen in the movie. And it's, I mean, even the way the guy reacts when shit happens to him, it just goes pure slapstick for a hot minute there.
The guy, the scene where the guy notices the trap and makes fun of it, and then the ladder slightly breaks and his jaw gets impaled on the nail, that got the biggest laugh in the movie theater out of anything in this movie.
I don't remember, because I do remember going to see it. I don't remember the audience reaction to a lot of that stuff. I remember I was just losing my shit cracking up. I told Haley, like, okay, we're going to go see this movie, Violent Night. Don't look up anything about it. I just want you to go in fresh and see what you think. And I, like, badly misread Haley's, like, I guess, a customization or attitude for, like, is there a term for this, like, gore, but it's intentionally funny?
I don't know, actually.
It feels like there should be, though, right?
There probably is a word for this, but I'm kind of blanking on it. I mean, but like you kind of said it earlier, where like it's violence but slapstick.
Yeah, like I badly misunderstood her level of appreciation for that stuff because I was losing my shit, laughing my ass off at like every brutal fucking murder that Santa Claus commits in this fucking movie at the movie theater, and Haley was just like, oh god, oh ew, like just that was the reaction she was getting. She was not into it, and I was like, oh whoops. So, we got out and I'm like, did you not care for it? And it wasn't bad. No, I didn't really like it that much. I'm like, oh, sorry, I thought you'd get a laugh out of it. Because there's been times where we've watched it like this and she laughs her ass off. So, I don't know. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, I guess. Just, you know, everybody's their own person. Violent
Night, interesting, though. Like, it just when you're talking about like the zeitgeist and like going in not knowing anything, this is a hyper violent Christmas comedy that actually came out in December of last year. Like, can you believe it? Someone had a holiday appropriate movie come out on the correct date. That's just not a thing we do super often. Like, I've seen Christmas movies come out in like January and November. I've seen horror movies come out in like February and July, and like October is just a dead zone for that kind of stuff. And so I feel like with the way this movie got released and the way the marketing was with all the Christmas puns and stuff, they really kind of channeled into a need I think people didn't know they had, which is a fun movie to take your friends to that is festive and does a premise that you would not normally see on the holidays without going full tilt horror.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. It is like entering that long list of kind of, I don't know, dirty Christmas movies or like non-kid friendly, non-family friendly Christmas movies. I feel like that trend really started in the late 90s, early 2000s. You had Ben Affleck's Surviving Christmas, which I remember we reviewed on here and we were like, oh man, I thought this was going to be so much more like cynical than it is. It's just kind of boring now by today's standards. And then shortly after that, you had like Bad Santa, and you'd always had like something like Black Christmas or whatever, but those aren't very good. But it's like it's
Black Christmas is the 70s, but yeah.
Well, yeah, which I'm saying, you've always had them, but like they really started ramping up late 90s and through the 2000s. Because Bad Santa, Bad Santa 2, Krampus was a big hit a couple years ago. And that one's
Even like Scrooged, right? Where like
Yeah.
it's a Christmas Carol, but it's clearly an adult-oriented Christmas Carol.
But I mean, even that's a little bit more straight to the like idea of a Christmas Carol than I think something like Krampus is to the idea of being a Christmas movie. You know, like there's just this trend of like the dirty like Christmas movie, the thing you could put on maybe once all the kids go to sleep kind of thing. And this definitely I think kind of takes the cake for that, because like I liked Krampus ish, like I've grown to like that movie more as time has gone on. I still think that we needed to see more of Krampus proper. The fact like the whole movie's just his like minions, and then you get like fucking 10 seconds of Krampus proper bugs the shit out of me. But I've grown to like that movie more. But I still think like this is just head and shoulders above that. I would much rather watch this again than Krampus as far as like a dirty Christmas movie kind of thing. My favorite's still Bad Santa to this day, but that's because of all the nostalgia of watching it with my dad and stuff. But
That's interesting, because I would probably put this for me on par with Krampus. I think they both kind of have a similar vibe. I have similar problems with both of them, but I do enjoy them both to about the same degree. I think they're both kind of going for this middle ground that I don't really like, and I wish they would kind of commit to one or the other.
Okay.
But I can see why you might want to do this, where they are R-rated movies that have a sensibility or a tone or humor that feels more PG-13. Where
okay.
you could take like a lot of the blood out of both of these, and the kind of core heart of the story are these relationships with kids. And even though there are movies, they're not really oriented towards that audience. They're more oriented towards like teenagers who want to watch an R movie like a slasher. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with trying to do it in that direction, but I feel like both with Krampus and with Violent Night, I think you kind of undercut some more of what you might have been able to have here with the story if you just kind of lean more into that adult-oriented space. Something about Die Hard that, just to kind of push back on your point earlier about Guy with Gun, is that Die Hard's a really interesting movie because you're living inside of Bruce Willis's head. You're setting up everything about his estranged relationship with his wife and his kids on Christmas. You're watching him bond with Al over the radio, who talks about like accidentally shooting a kid. You're really kind of setting up this guy as like this one man against the world, but you're growing really sympathetic over everything in his life and what he's trying to get back to. When he loses his shoes and he's like stepping on glass and you see like him walking with the blood, that's violent and it's uncomfortable, and you kind of feel for him in that moment. And it never really has tongue-in-cheek moments except for some of the more like action-heavy beats towards the end. And Violent Night, I feel like, has a sort of problem where I don't hate the fact that all of the action is more sort of gag-oriented, but I wish there was more suspense to the movie. The very beginning, where he first enters the house and he has that first fight with a guy that he wasn't expecting to have, and the dude throws a punch and he just catches it and he's like, I don't want to fight. I think that's really, really good. When he's like completely off guard and doesn't know what's happening. I think as the movie goes on and he starts getting acclimated to it and it becomes sillier, it starts to lose me.
See, I'm kind of... I agree with what you're saying on, like, just the factual, this is what happens in the movie, but I don't think I agree that it loses me. I think it just gets more and more absurd. I think the only point at which the violence starts to lose me is when they stop doing it like Christmas-specific gimmicks, when he's just down to the hammer, which he does end up using for like such a good chunk of the movie once he gets it. That's where it like maybe loses me a little bit, but it's not like he just becomes completely hammer dependent. Even in the scene where they like give it to him and introduce it, he still does like other Christmas winter related murders. Like even when he gets the hammer, he still kills the dude with the ice skate. He still kills the like 3 guys with the snowblower. Then he's got like the
sharp ass candy cane.
Yeah, sharp candy cane. He's got like the murder of opportunity with the grenade, and when he has to just stop, like, I gotta see it. Like, that was good. And then, he still uses the hammer for a good chunk after that. He takes out the female henchwoman with the hammer, but we don't actually see it. It's just off screen, which I think is actually better. And then
just to pause there real quick.
Sure.
There's something that David Harbour does with his performance that I really like, because I don't think he's great in the movie. I think he's serviceable, but I don't think he's great. But the thing about him that I really like is that he's got like this delivery when he says the word naughty, like it physically aches him that people are naughty.
That's naughty!
Yeah, so like he's holding the hammer over that woman, and he's like, "That's naughty!" before he smashes her head open. And there's just something about that that's kind of great. And again, this kind of goes back to my problem where I feel like when he's doing stuff like that, I kind of want the movie to feel just a bit more jarring, just a bit more adult, just a bit more scary, and I think that would be more entertaining if, like, for a second you stopped looking at the violence as being funny, but did kind of have that idea of like, oh, that was really fucked up. I loved it, but it was kind of fucked up. And I feel like it just, for me, does not straddle that line enough. It feels too much like you cut out some of the blood and it is a PG-13 movie, and I just wish it went more Die Hard than it ultimately does.
I mean, that's an interesting point. I just wanted to continue real quick with the hammer things because, all right, so he takes out the henchwoman, and then he uses it like a good amount in the in like the final fight. I think he kills one guy with a sled. Uses it a good amount in the final fight, but ultimately the final victory comes with the Santa Mortal Kombat fatality. So I don't know. I think he does a good job of, I think the movie does a good job of, like, not getting too samey with the kills, just keeping everything, like, really fresh and inventive, but then giving him something to, like, fall back on a little bit. So I quite enjoyed it. The action ramping up and getting more ridiculous, was an aspect of the film I really liked. It didn't turn me off at all. That it got more and more, like, over the top and crazy instead of becoming more off guard or what you were saying. So that might just be a different strokes, different folks kind of moment.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to something we've talked about in the past with Krampus about like how it just, to me, feels a little bit too much like it's winking at the camera. A lot of people really hated Annabelle Comes Home from a few years ago, like 2016 or 17, the third Annabelle movie. Everyone really hated that movie because they kind of just felt like it was Annabelle comes back to the house and it just kind of becomes a Scooby-Doo adventure where no one dies. And I kind of liked that in that movie because I felt like when you were inside the kid's head, the tension was really there and the jump scares were really good. It was on a narrative level basically a Scooby-Doo episode, but it was done with sort of an adult audience in mind. But since then, we've done a lot of horror movies that sort of just feel like only adults can watch this, but it appeals to the part of your adult brain that's very childish. And that's not a bad thing to do. I mean, that's the essence of the stoner comedy at the end of the day. But it is something that I feel like robs certain movies of having like a real pull or a real drama to them. Something that sort of feels like you're always at an emotional distance where you don't have to be. And I think in this movie in particular, it kind of hurts it because the relationship between the little girl and Santa, I feel like, was really well done for the scenes where they're talking to each other. And I feel like a lot of the action scenes in between kind of take me out of the emotional reality of the moment of like, oh, this guy is trying to save this little girl. He cares about her in the same way John McClane cares about Holly. And I feel like the movie kind of loses that when it gets wackier and wackier and wackier. Another thing about that I didn't really love is I sort of feel like, and this is something I said earlier, where I feel like the writing of the family, the whole thing it's kind of premised on, sort of robs the movie of that level of tension that I think you would otherwise want, where the fact that everyone in the house is just kind of an asshole makes it makes me not care as much about wanting them to be saved, with the exception of the little girl. And for a majority of the movie, the little girl is kind of independent of the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that kind of works against it. When you get to the end and Santa has died and she believes in him and she's crying over his body, that scene where everyone decides to start believing in Santa Claus and that revives him, I don't like that moment at all, because it reads too much to me like this little girl believes in him. She is in this moment and wants him back to life. Everyone else in the room is thinking, oh, I get it. If I believe in Santa, then he's going to come back to life. So I'm just going to say I believe in Santa. And then they just all do. And that brings him back. Like none of the characters like have a change of heart, really. They're all just kind of going along with the thing that they know is going to save the day at the end. And that's where a lot of that stuff really doesn't work for me, where I feel like a lot of these characters are kind of cardboard cutouts for specific gags. And the gags can be funny, but it takes all of the emotionality of the movie that is otherwise there and undercuts it in a way where I feel like it weakens the whole thing.
I get where you're coming from, and I see what you're going for. I don't think I fully agree, but I can't really, like, I can't dispute it, because I feel like that's just a very, you'll react to it how you react to it kind of thing. Because for me, I didn't personally read them as they don't really believe in Santa, they're just saying it to bring him back to life. I think that they like legitimately all do. No, I believe now. Like clearly it's indisputable. I have to believe now. For me, that's how I read that scene though. I think the point where I'm like maybe a little more on par with you, but at the same time I just like some of the stuff we get out of it so much, is with the fact that everyone in the family is just so shit. Because that you're right that can get kind of grating, and it is kind of interesting that we have to like go so far as to remove Trudy from the rest of her family. Counterpoint on it though is it's really fucking funny. Some of those scenes really just tickle me the right way when like, oh, when he's got the nutcracker, it's like, no, it's not called a finger cracker. I'm not touching his balls. I'll do it. And he just gets the fucking big one. And it's like, come on, give me your give me a ball. I'm sorry, that's just really fucking funny shit right there. And just the way that everyone's like, you know, fighting over it and everything is just really fucking funny to me. I got some really good laughs out of just how shit everyone in the family is together. Because it's just, again, it's a dirty Christmas movie, so you don't really get these kind of dynamics of like these really fucking toxic families a lot of the time in this kind of movie, in like a Christmas style movie. So to really take full advantage of it, and like when the grandmother's introduced and she's just screaming at a senator on the phone, all the most like vile things you could ever say to a human being, that just fucking worked for me, man. I don't know.
And that part's particularly funny because that's Beverly D'Angelo, who's from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and she's always kind of like the straight person, the homemaker, always really nice compared to like all of Chevy Chase's antics in those movies. So seeing her just be like the worst person in the world is kind of fun in a Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. And I like the actor boyfriend a lot. I thought that was really funny, and I think that one works because it doesn't overstay his welcome.
Just saying, if I was on one of those planes, 9/11 wouldn't have happened.
That bit where he gets out and he's just like, yeah, I've played a lot of soldiers, Semper Fi.
Yep.
The most dude bro guy of all time.
That one's good. Just a fucking like
present to the mom is giving her a script for a movie he wants to be in.
It's not even a script, it's a pitch deck. It's got like the financials in the back.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I like him in particular as a gag a lot.
He's pretty fucking good. The scene you're talking about, the scene where he escapes and goes to talk to the soldiers. The soldier gag didn't get me so much as the fact that like he actually gets away, like jumps over the couch and says parkour, and then just like dives through the window. It's like, woo! He's so good. Oh.
Yeah, and again, like I feel like I don't like on a script level that all of the family basically just kind of exist for gags, but then individually some of those gags are really good and really entertaining to watch.
Bertrude.
I
Bertrude, the social media star.
that was really funny. I like that kid. He's so fucking obnoxious. I love it.
I just love like how like he's like the least like for being so intolerable, he's like the least awful out of all the awful
Yeah.
people. Where he's just he has the excuse of being an annoying teenager, right? Like you can see some hope that this kid's eventually going to grow out of this. And the fucking scene, oh my god, when Mr. Scrooge comes in and he's like, now I'm in a killing random people mood, and the kid just goes, what if you kill the only person that knows what happened to the money? You guys are the fucking worst. Just the fact that like he sits there and like actually points out the flaw in his plan, and the kid like honestly underrated like acting performance from that kid though, like legit, because he's just so like nonchalant about some of his line deliveries, and it just reads so perfectly as no, he's actually just this fucking stupid. Because like he says that, and it's just like he's, you know, he raises his hand like he's answering a question in class, and then there's that earlier scene with the dad's gift to his mother, and he's like, oh, I left mine in the car. No, man, I saw you put it on the tree. It's cool. I got you, bro. It's so fucking... It's just, honestly, masterclass in line delivery. That kid understood the assignment, man. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. I wasn't here for the marital family drama between the dad, his ex-wife that he's trying to reconcile with, and the mom.
Yeah.
None of that really
kinda...
played for me at all.
Yeah, that one didn't. That one doesn't hit super hard, but I do like what it does for the daughter, especially when you get that moment where she comes around the corner and gets to see her parents kissing again, as the like part of the climax of the movie. I liked that aspect of it, for just, you know, she gets her Christmas wish, but like in that roundabout kind of way. I enjoyed. But as far as the drama between the characters themselves, yeah, it's not particularly impressive.
Yeah, that stuff's not great. If we're talking about actors, though, John Leguizamo as Scrooge, dude fucking crushes it. I love him in this.
So much fun. Like, just the fact that, like, he doesn't want to believe it's Santa, even though he's given, like, irrefutable evidence, basically, until he, like, gets the fucking naughty list and sees all this stuff. He's like, no, you really are Santa. And then he just goes full evil. He's like, I'm gonna fucking end Christmas.
He finds his life's purpose in that moment.
It's so cool. And like,
It's so funny.
You know, it's funny because like John Leguizamo really doesn't seem like the kind of guy you would get for like any kind of action level role. You know, he's one of those weird guys where he's like a really all around actor. Like, I think you mostly associate him with like comedy movies and stuff, but he kind of just doesn't have like one particular niche. You can kind of put him anywhere and he'll do it, right? So to have him in like this big final fight scene, and he's just got like, you know, the ice pick and the baton, and then like the fucking crampons come on the boots, and he's able to like get leverage on Santa, who's like 3 times his fucking size, but it's like believable, and he's just such a bastard by that point in the movie. You do legitimately fear for Santa. It's so well done, and he actually almost gets the win. It's just because of, you know, unpredictable Christmas magic that Santa's able to pull out the win in the end, which I quite liked.
Yeah, I really like him, and I like their fight a lot. He's in the first 2 John Wick movies, but he doesn't play anyone that gets to be in a fight. He's just kind of the body shop car owner guy. So to put him in a movie that's basically Die Hard, where he gets to be the villain and get to have like John Wick style fight scene with Santa Claus, I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Once, like we've talked about the Christmas fatality a couple times. I will say I'm a little disappointed and didn't really care for the fact that like they had to shoot him at the end of that. Like I thought that was like a little unfair and kind of robbed it of its high. I would have been fine if he just started like dying as a result of all the fucking wounds he'd taken throughout the night. Or if like that, wound that he stitched up earlier just came open because of that final fight or something and he was like bleeding out. I thought shooting him was a little bit of a bridge too far. Especially because it's just from a character that like basically had already died like 5 minutes earlier in the film. He didn't need to come back.
Stabbed real hard in the John Leguizamo fight. You'd think that would have been enough.
Yeah, like again, just any of that stuff would have been fine. I was not a fan of shooting him again. Not because like, oh, you can't shoot Santa. It just like took such a cool like high moment and then kind of like immediately go, oh really? Kind of takes it down a notch right away. Which is funny because I didn't remember that happening. I remembered the fatality. I didn't remember that he got shot on top of the chimney.
How did you feel about the whole Christmas magic thing and that he doesn't really know how it works and
I like that as a running gag. I thought that was fucking fantastic. I like the I don't really understand how it works is just a running gag. It feels very much like just the writer being like, I don't need to explain this shit, and you're just gonna have to accept that. And I don't know, I appreciated that quite a bit. That did work for me. Just anytime they needed something to kind of just happen or just work, they kind of fell back on Christmas magic, and that worked for me.
I didn't like that.
Oh no!
I didn't like that. I appreciate the idea of trying to have something in dialogue that just kind of says, let's not worry about the explanation. Let's just kind of enjoy what's happening, the getting down the chimneys, the magical Santa sack, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he didn't just keep saying, I don't know how it works, because I think when you say that, it comes off as lazy, as opposed to if you had something else where he just sort of says, well, I'm Santa Claus or something like that. Not to like rewrite the movie or anything, but it does sort of feel like you have plenty of outs to accomplish the same thing without just resorting to the character literally saying, I don't know. Especially because the way this movie's arc kind of goes is you have the very fun opening scene where he's getting drunk at the bar and he's ranting about how... Yeah, no kidding. He talks about how greedy kids are getting and how they only want like the next thing and like how they're all junkies and stuff and like this is going to be the last Christmas. And then over the course of the movie, as he's trying to save Trudy, he finds a genuinely nice kid and finds the holiday spirit again to finish up the Christmas night. I feel like that theme and that story structure hits harder if he is also just a good Santa Claus, if he just has the Christmas magic and knows how it works and understands it and is deciding I don't want to keep doing this, as opposed to he's really drunk, he hates how all the kids are, he doesn't know how Christmas magic works, I guess I'll save this kid and now I'm in a Christmas mood again. It makes him still feel more like an idiot and less like Santa Claus to me.
I would agree with you to, I think, a similar point. I don't know if I 100% agree with you on that, like in particular, but I don't like how like half in the bag he is. I kind of wish he was like more committed and everything. Like I think the scene that hits the poorest for me is when we talked about the first guy that he has to fight that dude in the in front of the Christmas tree and they fall out the window and stuff. That scene works. I don't like that, like, he's trying to run away. Or I don't necessarily like, let me say, how he's trying to run away before that happens. But, like, I get it. I can kind of forgive that. The thing I don't like is when he sees in the window and sees, like, Trudy being at gunpoint and stuff. And he, like, kind of has this, like, reluctant, God, fine, I guess I'll do this. That's the scene that I think, like, just bothered me the most. I could accept him, like, in the moment freaking out. There's gunshots and just trying to get the fuck out without even really thinking about the implications of it. And I like that it's a kid that brings him back and makes him decide that he has to save her. But I really, really did just not care for the idea that he's like being reluctant about going to save the kid.
Yeah, and like I'm certainly here for a Santa that feels a little bit more conflicted about a lot of these things. Like I was really, really on board for the movie at the very beginning when he goes on that tirade about like what's wrong with kids this year, and him coming back around because of Gertrude or Trudy is good. The fact that he's pissed at the reindeer for abandoning him, but that instantly forgives him when they have the extra sack. I think that kind of stuff like all kind of abstractly works. But the fact that he feels like he's not fully committed to saving her at the beginning, I agree. I think that's a little bit strange. The fact that he doesn't know how the Christmas magic even works makes it feel like he's kind of half out of this anyway. And then the other thing about it that still kind of bugs me is I feel like they're trying too many things as far as what they want their Santa portrayal to be. When he's staring at the ring for Mrs. Claus, and like you never get a lot of like dialogue confirmation, but you do kind of get this sense of like he really loves Mrs. Claus, but maybe there's some tension there too, and some of that is paralleling what's going on with Trudy and her parents potentially, but they never really like fully go into that realm. I really feel like they just kind of needed to focus on one thing with him, which is the fact that he is annoyed with how the kids these days are. And if you were going to go in that direction, it seems really strange to me that he kind of has no interaction or no insight, or at no point kind of evaluates the family at large except for Trudy. Like it seems like if you're opening the movie on the kids today suck because they are junkies, why is there nothing about the rest of this family who proves his point? Like, why isn't this idea of, yes, all of these people are like this, but this one girl is different, and for every one girl like this, Christmas is worth doing? I feel like they just kind of completely avoid the actual conflict there.
I can't necessarily disagree with you on that. That does feel like it's kind of almost like counter to the point they're trying to make, or like negligent of the point they're trying to make. So I think you're onto something there. I don't know. I do think so, like it's not the perfect movie. I'm just, again, the thing that I'm most impressed by is I really like the tone of the gore. I like the way that it utilizes its premise. I think it could probably have done some stuff here and there a bit better, but not to a point where it like takes me out of it or makes me not enjoy it anymore. So this is your second time watching this, or is this like one of many at this point?
Oh no, this is my second. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and then I hadn't watched it again until we decided to do the review for this.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: did you have most of this reaction upon your first watch, or is this like more like you kind of thinking about it harder this time?
No, I want to say I wrote a Patreon post about it, and I said a lot of similar things. I don't remember what I said in that specifically. I'd have to dig it up. But I remember having a very similar reaction where I'm like, I enjoy this. I thought this was fine, but it sort of feels like the premise is over-delivering and the script is under-delivering, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, I think that's fair. I would, like, we've talked about this movie for quite a while now, and I'm definitely getting, like, the vibe that you enjoyed it, but it's like, still lacking in some ways for you. And I just personally think that, like, even though this is my second watch through as well, I think I just had a better time with it overall than you did. Is all
and
it really
that's
comes
totally
down
fine.
to.
One other thing, and then we can talk about good things after, but like one other thing I did want to mention, because I alluded to it earlier, is I think maybe part of the reason that I felt kind of at a distance from it, even at the beginning, is I just don't like David Harbour as Santa. So David Harbour, he didn't get started acting Stranger Things, but that's kind of where he blew up from being in that show.
Mhm.
And I've never particularly loved his character in that show, and I don't really like a lot of his film performances. He was in the 2019 Hellboy reboot, and that was not good. And he was also in the Black Widow movie, which is almost damn near unwatchable. And then this year, he was in a pretty average movie, Gran Turismo. He wasn't bad in it, but he always kind of plays to me as an actor that's kind of just fading into the background. Like he's saying the lines that need to be said, but he never has like any sort of screen presence. And I feel like when you're casting Santa, especially with someone that's buried under an iconic color and costume, you need someone that can do a lot of really big dynamic facial expressions, somebody that really just like pops in the role and has a gravitas to them. And I just don't think he has that. If you haven't seen him, there's these like commercials floating around for this credit card where like John Travolta does the Saturday Night Fever dance, except he's dressed as Santa. And I love those commercials because John Travolta as Santa Claus just doing disco moves is great, and you like absolutely feel like it's both John Travolta being himself and a guy who could be Santa. And I feel like when I'm watching a credit card commercial that has a better Santa actor than a Santa movie, then maybe there's a problem.
Okay, that's an interesting one because I'm like, I don't love him in this either. Like, I think he does a serviceable job. I don't think he like distracts from the movie or anything. But I'm kind of like on an opposite way to you because I've not watched Stranger Things. I watched like the first 2 episodes, and Haley and I were both like, "This is boring."
You were saved. You were saved so many years.
Yeah. So like we didn't really care for Stranger Things, but like I did recognize him as, oh, that's the guy from Stranger Things. You're right. He's gotten like really big because of that. That's like his breakout role. I'd forgotten that he was the dude in Black Widow. That's funny. Talk about the most forgettable fucking movie of all time. But like, so it was interesting watching this because I had a bit of the opposite problem with you're having, where you're saying you kind of want someone that is a little bit more gravitas, does seem more recognizable, and I think he's almost like too recognizable as like that's the dude from Stranger Things. I like it's almost a little too distracting, and I felt like for a character like Santa, you want someone who can play the role, but preferably you don't want someone who overshadows the role because no one should be bigger than Santa Claus. And so conceptually casting this guy that's not really been in a whole lot, he's had like some breakout success, but he's not like he's not like we cast fucking Tom Cruise as Santa Claus, you know?
Yo, that would go so hard though. It said it's Violent Night with Tom Cruise, except he actually murders hundreds of people.
Yeah, I'm going to jail after this movie. Like, all the evidence, the movie's going to be used in my trial as evidence.
The perfect amount of pressure and speed to use a skate to slit someone's throat.
Yep.
He practiced it thousands of times.
Yep. And then I'm going to do the DVD commentary from prison with my new prison husband. No, but like, you don't want someone that's going to completely overshadow the role of Santa, because Santa's like so famous in and of himself. And so conceptually David Hurd works, but I don't know, I just found him like a little too distracting in the casting in that regard, at least in the early on in the movie. Once like the premise of the movie really starts getting going, once we get tired of like he's the drunk and like, you know, fucking around Santa, he's pissing off the edge of the sled. Like that early part of the movie, I was like, oh, I hope it's not just gonna be these jokes the whole time. Like, I liked when he threw up on the lady. Like, that was pretty fucking funny. But then I feel like they continued that bit for too long, and you could almost edit out those little scenes of the movie to just him arriving at Tracy's house. Because that bit just got old. So I was a little worried about the casting in that portion, but then once the action and everything starts up, once the plot really starts moving on in and of itself, I liked it quite a bit more. And I thought he was more serviceable. I'd still agree that he's not like perfect for the role or anything, and there's probably better actors you could have cast that could have carried the movie a little bit better, but I didn't like find him so distracting or so like much of an underperformer that I felt like it degraded the movie in any way.
I'm still waiting to watch a David Harbour movie and feel like this is the one. This is the one that wows me because he's been in a lot of things lately. Like it seems like of everyone in Stranger Things, he's the guy that says, "I know this show is going to end eventually, and I'm going to be famous acting in lots of things." So he just says yes to everything.
Well, like it's
And
weird. He was like super successful, like from not just a like career opportunity thing. Like people really love his character, and
do,
so just
yeah.
like want him to, you know. There's like, oh, can you come to my wedding or can you come to prom with me, kind of thing. Like really started popping off for him, and he was like got like, you know, I think a big part of why he started getting offered more movie roles is he got a lot of like social media clout and stuff for just doing that weird shit, like going to people's weddings and officiating and shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like David Harbour has kind of wielded the fame that show gave him really smartly, and he seems to have a good agent. So I keep watching things, and he just keeps showing up, which is probably a good sign. But I'm still waiting to watch something and be like, oh yeah, that guy is doing a really good job.
I mean, I think he's kind of, I think you've just kind of fallen for it, Steve. I don't think he's doing anything different. I think he's just, this is just what he does in the movie, in the business now. He's just the guy that shows up. You know, like that's all he has to do. I think this is just his niche. Would not, because like I remember hearing like an interview with him or something about that. It's like, oh, so you really went to like someone's high school for their picture day? And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm a busy actor and everything, but if you contact me and give me plenty of time and notice, and you know, help pay for me to get out there and stuff, sure, I'll do it. And you know, fucking good for him. maybe
David
maybe
Harbour, when you can't hire Kurt Russell, he'll say yes.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. You know, like that's, I don't know, that's, there's like a fun novelty in it, so
Sure.
good
Yeah.
for him. And it's certainly worked, so I don't really have a problem with that. Again, he's not like, I don't think that this movie would be okay. Let me put it this way. They wouldn't do this. They are like announced a sequel to this. I don't know when it's happening, but part of the movie's success is likely off of his, you know, social media clout and stuff. But if I found out that they were making Violent Night 2, but they didn't get David Harbour back, I don't think it would keep me from watching Violent Night 2.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the thing is I didn't like this movie because of the performance. Like he does a good job. It's hard to talk about because I don't want to say that I think he's turning in a bad performance. I'm saying that his performance is there and it gets the job done for me. It doesn't like wow me. It doesn't like make me think no one else could have played it like this. But it also isn't like so distracting or like actively bad. In any real way. He is there and he reads the lines that they put on the page. And he doesn't, like, we don't see his eyes reading the cue cards or anything. He does a good job. So, but yeah, at the same time, I don't think I'd go so far as to like, oh, no one else could have done the performance he did here. I think you could have gotten some other actors in and probably would have been just as fine, and I probably would have enjoyed the movie just as much for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to for me at the end of the day is like I don't think anything about this movie is like straight up bad. I think this is a solid average to high average movie with a lot of elements that I feel like hold it back from being like a truly great movie. And these are all things that I think you can kind of boil down to the script is doing too much and it kind of needing to focus in more on the actual heart of the story and what the characters' relationships are. I think it sort of shoots itself in the foot with the kinds of characters it writes into the movie, but there are moments incidentally throughout that are really entertaining and really fun to watch. It's not a movie by any stretch that I would say to avoid like The Plague or anything. I think it's a fun Christmas movie. It's just one of those things where it's like I like it and I'm kind of annoyed I don't love it.
Such a weird reaction to anything ever, but fair enough. I don't know. I had a good time with it. I really don't have, I think, much else to say about this one. It it meets the Ian seal of approval, and that's kind of just where I am with it. I had a really good time watching it. I enjoyed watching it a second time. A little disappointed that like since Haley didn't love it the first time, I decided to just kind of watch it on my own on the tablet while she was playing a game. And I will say, like, the second watch through, it still got some laughs out of me. Again, the fucking moment with the it might be the real Santa Claus just fucking sent me this time. Still got some laughs out of me, but not like as big a guttural laugh. I think this is one of those movies where do you think you enjoyed it more watching the theater than watching it on your own?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
it's a movie that like
audience
really you
big
want a
factor
big
to it.
audience factor to it, or like a good group of friends kind of thing. Would definitely be a hard recommend. It's only going to make the movie better if you have people to share it with, preferably people that are going to like also be into it.
But also people that I feel like don't really know what they're getting themselves into, because you kind of gambled with Haley, but assuming she did like that kind of violence, that's the most fun, where you just tell someone, look, there's this movie, it's called Violent Night, and I need you to watch this with me, and then watching their reaction, that's the most fun.
Yeah, and like I didn't know, like it's not like I'd seen it before I took her. I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh, we're gonna love this, and she just ended up like the gore just kind of went too far for her. It's weird with Haley. Like the funny thing is, I bet you if I'd watched this with her last night, even though it wouldn't have been her second time and she didn't love it the first time, I bet you she would have liked it more on rewatch, knowing what she was going in for a little bit. Because
Sure.
we had this a couple weeks ago. This is such a fucking gross story, and I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna fucking tell it. Someone posted this fucking short, YouTube short, TikTok, whatever it is, of this dude throwing up, and like gross out stuff like that really usually doesn't do it for me. But the caption with the thing was, walk in a straight line, check this shit out. And the dude like throws up, but as he throws up, he like spins and it creates like a perfect circle. Like, when people like go up to the chalkboard and get like just the right shoulder swing and draw a perfect circle with chalk? He did that with vomit. And like I'm just sitting there like laughing my ass off at this thing, and Haley's like, "What?" I go, "All right, I just gotta show you, but I gotta let you know ahead of time. It's fucking disgusting." And she's like, "All right." And I play the thing, and she just hears the sound of him throwing up and like almost throws up on her own. And she's like, "Oh God, no, turn it off." I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And then I like just try to explain what was so funny about it. She's just like looking at me all judgmental and shit. And then like 3 minutes later, she's on her phone looking at it and just cracking the fuck up too. And so like maybe that's just her. Is sometimes like the initial shock of it can be so gross, but then like when she knows what she's in for, it's fine. I don't know.
Sure.
But that's kind of the vibe I got from this. Watching it the second time though wasn't as fun as watching it with a big group, I will say. So would recommend bigger group of peeps to watch a movie with like this. All right, do we have anything else we want to talk about with Violent Night, or are we pretty well wrapped up?
No, I'm pretty satisfied.
Okay. What would you rate Violent Night?
I would rate it probably 2.5 skull crushers out of 5.
Nice. All right. I would give this. I think I'm gonna go a little bit higher than you. At 3.5. That's naughty out of 5. Oh. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Geeky Gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow, Christmas Day, with a Christmas commentary. Steve and I are going to go record that now. So you guys can come join us for a Christmas commentary on Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman. No notes. Perfect movie title.
I'm so excited.
So that'll be fun. If you're curious, we did review Jack Frost 1 earlier this month, so you can go back and check that out. So Steve, real quick though, before we sign off, I do realize that the final episode, or the the next episode of Geeky Gentlemen after this one would be posted on the 31st. So do we want to do like a New Year's discussion or something? Like, do you want to figure out something we could do that time? I'm assuming Alfie's still going to be a no-go for it.
Yeah, we should definitely come up with some kind of like, maybe not necessarily Christmas, but New Year's themed topic to talk about.
Is there such a thing as a New Year's movie?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could come up with a New Year's movie. I don't feel like that would be too hard. I'm drawing a blank now, but I feel like I have seen New Year's movies.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's a very underrepresented holiday, despite Chris Chibnall's best efforts.
Let me stew on it a little bit, and then I can let you know probably at the end of the commentary.
Okay. Yep, that's fine. We'll figure something out. So we'll be back for a New Year's episode. We won't skip that week. All things going correctly. Because, I mean, it'd be Tuesday, 26th, we'd record anyway, so it'd be fine. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I have not been naughty this year.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!